Do Christians need to speak up when others speak negatively about Jesus, or I guess just Christianity in general? Do we need to be the defenders of the faith? And
Yeah,
how
it's a
does
good
that
question.
how
Yeah,
does that look
clearly,
like?
clearly Jesus does a bad job of defending himself because I've never seen anybody get smote when they've talked smack about him. So clearly he does need us.
Hold on, is smote the past tense of smite?
Yeah, I was trying to work out how I was supposed to say that as I was saying it. I was
Smited?
like, is it smited? It's not smitten because that's when you've got like when you're really into someone. So clearly it must be smote. I'm open to being corrected if someone has a good answer for that. It is a really interesting question though. My first question would be if you're around someone and the smack talking Jesus or they're talking bad about our faith or they're talking bad about God, would be if we feel the need to defend, what is it that we're actually defending? Are we actually defending God and we actually defending Jesus? Or is it that we're really defending ourselves and our own belief in what we've chosen to follow? My guess is it's usually the latter, that we're usually seeking to defend ourselves, not to defend Jesus, because I don't think Jesus needs defending necessarily. And then you've got the actual example of Jesus when he was being attacked was not a man who defended himself. So I think Scripture gives us the two things that we need to hold in relationship with this, that encouragement to not deny Jesus, and also to be ready to give a reason for the hope that we have. But that's completely different from having a go at someone who might be attacking Jesus.
You hold a public profile, so people probably question you a lot about this, and they question you about your faith and Jesus. Can you give a practical example of you being engaged in a conversation where you've had to defend Jesus yourself?
Yeah, I would say I've never had to defend
Oh,
Jesus.
okay.
And that's not because he's never been attacked in front of me, but I just never feel the need to defend Jesus. I do feel the need sometimes to defend what it is that I hold to be true. That's a completely different thing in my mind. A really good example is I have someone who texts me almost every Sunday night on my radio show, almost as soon as the show starts. Nothing related to whatever it is that I'm talking about. He'll just accuse me of being a liar and God's not real. He wants to have a go at religion every single time he texts. So
Yeah.
I've blocked him. So he's wasting his 20 cents every time he sends a text. But there's that felt need to come back at him. And it's not healthy. I think if we take notice of the feelings that we have as well, that's really important. If you can come back and have a reasonable conversation and truly listen to someone and hear where that objection might be coming from, then there's a worthy conversation to be had. But I don't think that's what most of us feel. I feel this thing rise up inside me, this emotional response whenever anybody attacks my faith. And so I've got to put that aside, breathe, and then listen. And I think listening is really important. I have been criticized. I've been criticized for well over 20 years of being a public person of faith. And I found that listening is really good because usually if someone starts criticizing, there's something behind that criticism. And we want to find what's sitting behind that criticism.
It's sort of an interesting introductory question because really, I don't know if I've ever really heard anybody say anything negative about Jesus, to be fair. Usually criticisms laid against Christianity are more so about the church and about us, about people that represent Christ or things like that and the damage that's been done in those kind of places and that. But then, in that space, Frank, I've seen you stand up for the church or maybe try and give the other side of like, yes, you're very good at acknowledging the places that people have let down, what God is supposed to be about, but at the same time pointing towards the great things that Christians are a part of or that is happening amongst the church that often people maybe don't see or doesn't make it into the public sphere. So when people think about it in that kind of way, when they hear maybe the faith in general being talked about in a negative sense and maybe the damage it's done to society or people and all of that, and they feel like, actually, that's not how I see it. Almost like apologetics kind of stuff. We've had a few people on recently that's their full-time gig, is basically defending the faith, in a public way. What do you make of that?
Yeah, and that effectively is my life. That's
Yeah.
in effect what I do. And again, it's there's two things involved when I'm doing that. One is the listening. Where is this criticism coming from, and is this criticism valid? And sometimes just acknowledging that the criticism is valid just cuts the argument off at the knees. It just gets to a really honest place and says, yeah, you know what? I really struggle with some of that stuff too. But then I'm also all about giving the reason for the hope that we have. So yes, that criticism is valid. Yes, I'm an intelligent human being and I still hold to the faith even though that criticism might be valid. So here's why I still hold to the faith. And I think that's a very good thing to do. But you've got to get yourself away from that emotional reactive space in order to get there, to acknowledge that the other person is a valid human being with valid concerns, and yep, some of what they say might be legit, some of it might not be, but then being able to get yourself to the place where you're simply saying, here's why I believe what I believe is extremely healthy.